Welcome back to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. I'm your host, Thurston J.Y. Manley, your speaker's favorite speaker. And on today's episode, we have the theme Transplanted. This theme comes from the Triad Storytelling Guild, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. Transplanted. First story, back to the burrow. Second story, the mountaintop. First story, once again, back to the burrow. Second story, the mountaintop. But before we get into those stories, I'd like to thank all our listeners and followers for giving me actually feedback through direct message on Instagram. Also, I appreciate the feedback that I get by email. I haven't got that much, got a couple emails, and I do appreciate that. And to my listeners out there, I got to actually talk to one of the listeners that I didn't know, friend of a friend, that is located in Vietnam. I appreciate you. She has a unique name, so I will not say her name on here because you'll be able to track her down. But shout out to you in Vietnam for listening. I appreciate all the listeners and followers. Please share the podcast. Please share the links and follow and subscribe on YouTube. And we're going to get right into this episode with two stories based on the theme of being transplanted. Transplanted means to be moved or put into a different position, to be moved from one area to another, or something dealing with live tissue, which is like an organ transplant. I don't have one of those good stories, but today's story, first one, back to the burrow. Second story, to the mountaintop. To the mountaintop is the second story. Back to the burrow is the first story. You'll get both of those stories right after this advertisement for Anchor. And thank you guys for listening. Enjoy. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now back to the burrow. The story deals with being transplanted, which is good because that's the theme for today. It was the summer of 2003, because I was a super senior at Guilford College, graduated in 5 years. And the summer of 2003, I was going back home. And the reason I was going back home is because I currently did not have what they call a JOB of any form or fashion. And this was fine with my parents. This was not fine with me. My parents welcomed me home with open arms. I'm an only child, and they are very supportive in whatever I do. And they were just happy I graduated. Not the term summa cum laude, but thank God Almighty is how I graduated, and they appreciated that. While I sat on the couch at home, I decided I needed to find a job. And this was in the time period where the internet was like a place that you would go to. The internet wasn't just freely in people's houses. It was still in that time period where they were sending out those AOL discs with like 30,000 million minutes or something. And you would load up to the internet and it says and all that stuff and the noise. So the internet was a place. And by that, I mean that you would have to go somewhere to get on the internet superhighway, or the World Wide Web is probably what we called it at that time still. And I would have to leave my home and go to the library and find jobs there, and go to sites like monster.com or whatever the web posting board was at the time. And I would post for jobs. And in that summer, I would find temp jobs through the temp place that I worked at every summer. And these jobs were not career jobs. These were delivering lights to houses, new construction. This was warehouse jobs, things like that. I graduated from Guilford with a management degree with a concentration in money and finance, and none of that was involved. And most of the jobs that I applied for were commission-only jobs, which in hindsight, considering my parents were so freely letting me stay there, not pay any bills, and giving me some money to go to these places if I didn't have money at the time, because these jobs didn't pay too much. And I was putting everything into new suit clothes, resumes, gas money going to all these places. I probably should have took one of those commission jobs and ate crap for a little while and figured it out. But I was so eager to get from up under my parents because I was independent by that time and I needed to get out of there. The immediate goal was get out of that house and possibly get back to Greensboro because there was bigger, more opportunities than in Lewisburg. Best way to do that is to maintain your connections, network, talk to your friends. So I reached out to one of my friends that I call Scooter. I call him Scooter because everybody calls him Scooter. And he said, hey man, I know somebody that is hiring for a job that's within your major. I was like, all right. He's like, it's a temp to hire position. It'll work out. It was at a manufacturing company. And I was a little worried. I'm not going to say the name. I was a little worried when I heard the manufacturing companies. But let's say they make mattresses because they do. And I said, okay, that'll work good. What does manufacturing mattresses have to do with my major? It's like, no, my friend, he works at the gym. He goes to the gym that I work at. And he needs somebody that does accounting. Accounting. Now, the reason he thought I was an accounting major is because I always complained about the accounting classes. I definitely drop ad or flunked that intro to, well, not the intro. I passed the intro to accounting. The second accounting class, I took about 2-3 times. It was easier for other people. I just didn't understand the concept because I like numbers, but accounting really has nothing to do with numbers. It's more about theory, and my mind didn't line up with LIFO, FIFO, BIFO, whatever it is. Last in, first out, first in, first out, all that theory behind you track your money and de-amortize. Didn't get it. Didn't do well at it. But my friend Scooter has found me a job in accounting. And I did not like staying on my parents' couch. I did have a bedroom at my parents' house, but I kind of refused to use it because I didn't want to get comfortable and be laying up under them all those years that I've seen other people do that. Made myself purposely uncomfortable on the couch, or if I was in my room, I didn't have the bed, I would sleep on the futon just to get in my mindset. Okay, we need to get up out of here. This is not a permanent residence. And I interviewed for the job. I got the job, but I had no other money. So I couldn't get an apartment or anything like that or any kind of deposit together. And I'm not borrowing the money from my parents. So my friend Scooter's like, don't worry, I got you the job. You can stay with me. Beautiful. Thing is, Scooter stayed in a two-bedroom apartment, which sounds great. You know, he has a room, I have a room. But the problem on top of that was he already had a roommate. So Scooter, my close friend, we called Chubby. That was his nickname, Chubby. He was not very chubby. He got it from a baby. He was actually probably built like a welterweight boxer, if anything. DB for A&T. And it was Scooter, Chubby, and Chubby's brother. Chubby's brother was named Man. So that's 3 grown men in a 2-bedroom apartment that's getting another men's to move in. It's going to be rough. That's what I'm thinking. The beauty of it, at least had 2 bathrooms. That's a good thing. And I was going to be sleeping in the dining room because these are also not just grown men. These are young grown men. So the dining room had no purpose. It was completely empty. So I got to sleep in the dining room. I brought my futon up from my parents' house, laid that thing down in that dining room, folded it out flat, and that's where I slept. I didn't have a closet because this job in accounting, which once again I do not like and or enjoy, also required me to wear suits and dress clothes that I have been slowly stockpiling during the summer. So that was not a problem by going to Marshall's or like Ross, all those kind of, second quality stores, getting suits and shirts and ties, because I had to wear a shirt and tie every day to that job. But once again, didn't have a closet. So I had to use the coat closet coming in to the house. So you come in and most people would see like a coat or your dirty boots or something there. In that closet, it was my dress clothes. That was my closet. So I slept on the futon in the dining/living room, kept my suit clothes in the closet, and The only responsibility I had was, I think, paying the cable. So I paid the cable. I made a promise to the scooter. I was like, hey, man, I'm going to be out of here in about 3 to 4 months, because my close friend Doug, he was still in school, and I knew when he graduated we could probably link up and get a apartment together, or in between semesters was the plan. He was going to do his second semester at Guilford, and he'll be living off campus with me. I was like, perfect plan, we'll work it out, we'll get our own apartment, and that would be around January or December. This is still summer. I was like, hey man, you just got to hold me down through Christmas and I'm gonna be out of here. He's like, yeah, whatever. Because at the time, man was supposed to only be living with them for about 3 months. He had moved down from New Jersey. And that 3 months turned into about 2 years. So he didn't believe me. But I went in there, did that job that I did not like, which it was actually pretty good because it had very little to do with accounting. I was at a payroll. The title was accounts payable clerk, or payroll accounts payable clerk, meaning I just paid all the expenses for all the salespeople. And by paid the expenses, I mean I looked at emails with numbers, put those numbers in certain fields, and then those numbers printed out and they got paid somehow on this big old ream of that old school like blue and white paper line thing. And I had to match it up and make sure everything was okay. It was an extremely sucky job. I was probably the only person besides my supervisor that had a degree. Half the people in my department were currently in college, and they just looked at me and said, oh, huh, you went to college, and just kind of rolled their eyes at me as they walked by, because I wasn't the most clean I was pretty clean shaven. I was good, but the suits and stuff that barely matched, ties, and I tried to wear sweaters every day, so I didn't have to really iron those shirts. It was a struggle, man, because you had to iron clothes and keep all the stuff dry cleaning, and that became a rotating bill, and figuring that out in between everything else was rough. But I was transplanted, I was put in there, I grew and got up out of there as soon as I can. And I can't thank my man Scooter Chubby and man enough for getting me transplanted back to the borough where I should be. And that's how I wound up back in Greensboro. I've been here ever since, until you hear from the next story to the mountaintop. Thank you guys. Next story coming at you. Bye. In the summer of 2010, I was at a crossroads. It was a career crossroads, trying to figure out what career or what field did I want to be in for the foreseeable future, possibly for the rest of my life. And I didn't know what that would be. I had just got out of doing screen printing and embroidery transfers. I started doing that with a company that was started by my college roommate and his family, which was a franchise called Embroidery. And in that company, you would do screen printing or embroidery for somebody that came in, one of 300, and you got to deal with a lot of different people. I enjoyed it because you had the sales part of it, of going out to meet people to sell items, and you had the executive of seeing how much money is coming in and paying for the other people that were working there by doing the sales. And also you got to work with your hands. I got to run big machines. And as my grandfather would say, the tobacco was on the floor, meaning that you can see the work that you did. It was junky. You might have seen shirts piled over different places, boxes, backing from doing embroidery. And it was real work in this little shop. I went from there to work for another embroidery and screen printing shop for, I think, a whole year. And then that position got eliminated just because I couldn't turn the sales around in Greensboro. And after I got let go, one of the people that I hired called me. It's like, they don't know what they're doing here, which was very funny. Shout out to her. She's the Brit that don't take no-ish, as I call her. She called and told me that. And after that job, I got hired to a big company that did screen printing and embroidery and heat transfers. But they did it for companies like those travel centers where you pick up a shirt and the shirt would be like $8 or $9. And the shirt would say something like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or, Greensboro, North Carolina, or Washington, D.C. And it would have the letters embroidered. And then it had this like generic mountain or maybe a building or just a scene. So I would embroider those shirts and they would send them there. They would order like 10, 20 of those shirts, different colors, random colors. But the interesting thing about that, the items that they would order at these travel centers, gas stations, the one of their big customers was a like truck stop gas station company, which I'm not going to name, but they sold third quality shirts. First quality shirt is a good shirt that you would buy and you'd be happy with. You might buy it at a Target, even on Walmart, first quality. Second quality shirt may be a shirt that you find at one of your local Marshalls and or Ross, and it may be something irregular about it. The size is different. Everybody knows it. That's why you shop at Marshalls. You can get you a polo shirt for a half or a quarter of the price because the size was off or because nobody liked that color. That's why the shirts wind up there. But third quality, this means that shirt definitely has a hole in it. You can tell this by the way the tag is cut. If a tag is cut straight from the bottom to the top, it means it is second quality. That means there's something wrong with it. Irregular size, maybe a stitch missing. If it's third quality, it probably has a hole in it. And this company that I worked for would sell these shirts with holes in it. And I did not like that. But that's what the company ordered. It just felt like you were I was being complicit with something that was obvious hustle. I did not enjoy that, especially coming from the embroidery side where people would complain if a color was 2 or 3 hues off, and doing this, I say crap work for, 200 or 300 shirts you ship to a gas station, you get the orders out. The margins was very small. They were complaining about it. It was hot in that warehouse and I just needed something else. And the last straw was that I was driving a long way to go work at this place. Gas prices were at, I think at that time, for some reason, $5 a gallon. I forgot what kind of drama, tragedy was going on with the government at that time or across the world. Maybe like a gas line blew up or something. But gas was $5 a gallon. I had a Grand Jeep Cherokee and I was driving several miles to get to this warehouse to work. And it was costing me money. And before a holiday, they didn't give us our checks before the 4th of July holiday because the lady didn't feel like coming in. So since she didn't come in, we could just wait till Monday to get the check. And I was like, I can't wait till Monday. I quit because I need my money to get down there. I need my money to pay rent. I basically need money for gas to get down there. And that's the first reason I say it is the real reason. I was like, I'm not coming back here. And I started applying for other jobs. I quit that job. And my wife said, you need to join what we call the mothership. She worked for a big insurance company. No more small businesses or small companies. Go with a big company. Get you some insurance. That's what I call insurance. Some insurance to cover these kids, cover yourself, get a nice real 401k that has some kind of match on it, and go with our company. Go with the company I work for. That's what my wife said. I was like, all right, let's do it. So I started applying for her company that she works at, big insurance company. And we didn't care where it was. We were looking to be transplanted. We were looking anywhere else to find work. And I found a position within her company. And this position was in Pittsburgh, the mountaintop. I knew nothing about Pittsburgh at all. I didn't understand that Pittsburgh is not a northeast city in the sense, because I have plenty of experience being part of the cousin exchange program I call the cousin exchange program in my family, where we would go as a country cousin, go hang out with the city cousins. And the city to us was New York, New Jersey. Maybe a trip to Boston just to see what's going on there. And these cities they're all different, but they seem very similar. That's what I thought all cities were that were north of Lewisburg or Greensboro, North Carolina were like. Because I've been through DC, I have families in Baltimore, similar attitude, lots of amenities, you get to see concerts, and they got professional teams that everybody, kind of likes that we cheer for, we like the team. But Pittsburgh was completely different. I had to drive up there for the interview. They sent me the interview. I drive to to Pittsburgh at night. I was supposed to leave earlier in the day. Couldn't leave early in the day because a job that I had applied for at the local YMCA required me to take a drug test. And if I didn't take the drug test that day, they would assume I was on the crack or something. So I had to take the drug test before I left because they didn't want me to wait 2 days to get all the heroin and dope and weed and everything out of my system. So I had to take that, and that was delayed, and that caused me to leave a lot later. This was August the 18th. And I remember this day because it was 2 days before my birthday. So I waited, did the drug test, got on the road, went to Pittsburgh, never been up there, followed whatever map I had, which I think was printed directions at the time, because I definitely didn't have a smartphone. We might have had something we call a gremlin, which is the Garmin. We call it a gremlin. That's a family term for a Garmin GPS. For those that don't know, that are too young, there was a time period before your phone had Waze and Google Maps and all that. There was a device that you would buy separate from your phone or your car, because cars didn't have the GPS in there, and you would pay for this item and would attach to your windshield or your dashboard, similar to how your phone is now. And it just that's all it did was global positioning system, just a straight GPS, which was an amazing, beautiful thing, because before that our directions had staples in them. You had to print them, you had to flip the page, and if you turned the wrong corner, you had to use some kind of like Indiana Jones looking for the lost ark technique to get back to the road. And trust me, the road from Greensboro, North Carolina to Pittsburgh at dark night, you don't want to be asking for no directions, especially if you use a brother going through dark mountains of Virginia, dark mountains of West Virginia, curvy, sketchy looking, all kinds of large amounts of you don't want to deal with that. But I made my way up there, and I noticed that I didn't have satellite radio. Might have been before satellite radio, that I had to find a local station. God must have been looking out for me, because the only thing I could find was country stations. I'm not a big country fan. I know I have a few country artists I mess with. I mess with a Kane Brown. This was before him. He might not even been born then, because he's a young looking dude. But I found like a PBS or country station, and they were playing a special of Johnny Cash. So I listened to Ring of Fire all the way up there, live from Folsom. Beautiful. I know these songs. I fair learn to burn a ring of fire, all that. I know that. So that worked out good. Get to Pittsburgh, to the Pennsylvania line, hip hop station. Perfect. All right, we can live in Pittsburgh. I don't see any city, because of the highway I took in. I went down to Cranberry, Pennsylvania, which is like north of Pittsburgh. So it's not, I didn't see any buildings or anything like that. No major city from what I could tell. And I'm like, oh, this is smaller than I remember, because the only experience I have with Pittsburgh at the time is the Steelers, which my mother is a huge fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we would catch some of the games, and you see the photos. It's like, I don't see any buildings. But I get to Cranberry, get pulled over, and I get a speeding ticket in Pittsburgh. Basically, because I had out-of-state license plate. He questioned me extensively because he couldn't understand why somebody was leaving North Carolina to come to his state or his area of the state to get a job. He didn't believe me. Why are you driving in the middle of the night for an interview? I was like, I got an interview tomorrow. I just need to get to this hotel that's in Cranberry because we have Marriott points. Please don't shoot me on the side of this road. He didn't shoot me. He laughed. We worked it out. Got the speeding ticket. Get to the place. I was like, it's amazing. They got a hip hop station. I can live with this. Next morning, get up, go to the interview. Soon as I sit in this building, I see the people walking around. I see their shirts. I see how they're dressed. I was like, I'll be running this place within a year. I'll be up and out of here. This is perfect. Do the interview, kill it. She's impressed that I have a suit on, which is a good sign, maybe, that I was dressed better than most. But before I get to the interview, I get to go to the city. And coming through Pittsburgh is a whole, oh man, that's an experience in itself. You take this highway almost in the sky, because Pittsburgh is in the mountains of Pennsylvania. Monongahela River and I think the Ohio River, they make a confluence, which means a bunch of waters get together. That's what a confluence is, the word for the day. And you drive over that and you're trying to look to see the exits, because you got 5 seconds to decide what tunnel you get in. And if I'm not in the right tunnel, the Garmin/Gremlin gonna mess me all up. It's gonna be like you pour water on Gizmo at past midnight. So I had to pick the right exit, and I'm panicky, and I take the right exit, and I still get there super early, and I just have to wait. But I got to see the city, so there's a city. One thing I noticed, there's not a lot of black people. Cool. Cop was white. That's the only person I talked to. Person at the desk at the hotel, white. Okay, not a big deal. I go to the office, a couple black people. This surprised me because I'm used to my wife's location. She dresses up every day to go to the office that's in High Point, North Carolina here. And we were buying fancy clothes for her to wear, to be, dressed pretty nicely for the work environment. And I've been to dinners and out to eat with some of the people that work with her. A lot of them are older black females, younger black guys, and I get to the Pittsburgh site, this is not the case. So it's not a company thing. That's fine. Leave, have hip hop station. Turns out I get the job. 2 weeks after that, I get the notification that I got the job. Then another 2 weeks after that, we had to move up there because the position will be starting. So we get a place, we just find one online. I get my friend John, he finds a place, beautiful, townhouse. It's on a hill because everything's on a hill in Pittsburgh. Finds a decent area. We figure out where the shopping is. We drive up there. No hip hop station. These people, in the time period, those 4 weeks that I came and gone, they had got rid of the hip hop station. Got rid of it. It is gone. And that was like traumatic for me, to say the least. Is that there's no hip hop station to listen to, because we didn't get an iPhone until like a year after that. We had no computer in the house. I would have to find videos on our Wii. That's how we watched our Netflix, is through the Wii, not the Wii U, the first Wii, the white one with the remote, and you go online because we got free Wi-Fi with the townhouse, and so we would use that Wi-Fi, go online, and we would watch YouTube videos there, so I can know, what is this Waka Flocka that everybody's talking about? What is the newest album from Rick Ross? Because I was completely behind. But I was transplanted there. Besides getting froze out, I felt good. I was a little worried going to Pittsburgh because everybody's telling me about the snow, and they were telling me, it's like, hey, sometimes you got to shovel the roof. I was like, shovel the roof? I was not prepared. Shovel the driveway, understood. Shoveling the roof, that's a whole nother thing. And the other thing that tripped me out about Pittsburgh was that everything was far away. We were in the nice part of town, but to get to the Walmart grocery, to get to the Target, we got to go all the way to another town. I was so spoiled here in Greensboro, where we had 3 Targets we can get to in 10 minutes. But other than that, great school. Turns out it was great people. I was happy to be transplanted there. But I'm happy to be back because, Greensboro is known as it was city of flowers. Then they go through the industrial period. They became the gate city because all the trains going through there. Now the industrial period gave Pittsburgh a great name too. It was called Hell with the Lid Off. And the reason it's called Hell with the Lid Off is because it's so gray and smoky from all that smelting and belting and delting they did of making that steel. But besides those, I didn't call them gray skies while we were there. We called them platinum clouds and platinum sky, to put a funky twist on it. Besides that, it was great, and the summers didn't get too hot. I was transplanted there, and I bloomed, and I came back, and I'm still with that company, and it's great. So always be open to be transplanted and moved, because you can only grow in fertile soil, and that's what the soil had brought me to grow. Thank you, guys. Well, you've reached the end of the transplanted episode of the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. Once again, thank you for listening. This is me, Thurston, J.Y. Manly, your speaker's favorite speaker, the storyteller above all others. And to give you my last thought on it, I was thinking back to the first story I told of Back to the Burrow. And I remember sleeping on that futon, very uncomfortable futon. It was like sleeping on just a bunch of pillows over top of like wrought iron bars is what it felt like, even though it was like a wood futon, but it suckaged highly. And the best thing about it though, considering I was only responsible for the cable bill there, and every now and then I would have to buy dinner, we had the most lit cable ever. I mean, we had everything. We had the HBO, the Cinemax, the Stars, bars, and cars. We had everything. It was fully blown out. All the cable you want to see. That was a good thing. That was highly enjoyable considering I was in the living room with the TV. So it might as well have everything on it that you need or want to see. The other thing I definitely remember about going to Pittsburgh is it was curvy and a lot of hills. And those people were hard-working people, man. You talking about overtime, no doubt we would do it. I did so much overtime there because it was just us. So us meaning my wife, the two boys, and my mother-in-law. And we became closer as a family because we didn't have those other distractions. We could only depend on us to get stuff done. There wasn't no, let me go hang out with the guys, hang out with my wife, go hang out with the girls. It was just us. We just looked at each other the whole time. And it really helped us grow. I mean, it was fertile ground. It was snowy ground, but it was fertile ground. And I enjoyed it a lot. And I enjoyed being on the couch with my guys. That's the first time after college when I lived with Scooter, Man, and Chubby, the four of us in that 2-bedroom apartment, was the first time I ever ate and made hamburger helper. I was going to cook hamburger helper, and I was like, how to who do we do this? How to what? And I figured it out. It was not complex at all, and it became one of my favorite broke man dishes because I promised myself after college I was not going to eat no more ramen, and I haven't until like 2 years after I promised I wouldn't do that. I did eat some ramen, and it was delicious. But that is it. I hope you enjoyed the transplanted episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review. I appreciate the ratings right now. I got all 5 stars. Bling, bling. I likes that. Rate and review on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you have other platforms I should be on, please suggest those. I think this week or the next couple weeks, we're going to work on getting the rest of the videos up on the YouTube channel. And also, we're going to work on getting a SoundCloud. Apparently, that's an important thing. So I'm going to try to do that too. So any help or suggestions, please reach out to me. And follow me on Manly Mythical Story on IG. That is Instagram for those that don't know. Or follow me on the YouTube channel Manly Mythical Story Emporium. And I do have a Facebook. I'm working on the best way to optimize that. So I'll be sharing the videos over there, maybe clips of the podcast, maybe some of the photos that go with the stories. So look out for all that stuff. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Enjoy your week. Peace.